Alright, so this is for group 3. We're starting with Kimberly's work, and Kimberly is working on pumpkin cheesecake. So let's start with your denotative. I think this looks pretty nice. It looks like a page out of a cookbook, but I still want to see some kind of experimentation going on, similar to what you're doing with your pumpkin cheesecake connotative version. I think it looks great, just how nicely illustrated you have your overall layout, and also how you've created the type treatment. I'm wondering if there's something we can bring in here that can have that same kind of dynamic interest in your layout. So I think what's missing is just overall experimentation with white space. Everything seems to be taking up a lot of space close to the edge, and I think what I like the most about your your connotative, is that it still breathes. Yes, there's a lot of information, but it's very breathable. I'm wondering if there's something we can bring in here that can give us that overall sense of negative space, and I'm kind of missing that here. Although it's nicely laid out in terms of structure, but I think it's a little too much verbiage to go through. And like I said, you can always shave off certain kinds of sentences that you don't need out of the recipe. You're the author here. But let's try to see if there's something we can do to bring some more white space. Okay? And it could be shrinking down the size of pumpkin, or maybe some areas right here don't need to be stacked right above the directions. Maybe they can go more towards this side right here, but still following the grid. Just wanting to see a little bit more experimentation with your type. Okay, but I think overall this is great. I love how this works. This is still kind of awkward for me, the diagonal right here. I would rather it still follow the curve of cheesecake, pumpkin cheesecake, so maybe curve this a little bit more, and I think it would look really nice, because right now it seems to break that shape that you've created. Okay, I hope that helps. And this is Bridget's work. Let's take a look at her. I believe this is your connotative and this is your denotative. So it's a little bit difficult to read some of those typefaces right here, or this stack of information, just because it's stacked in a certain way on an angle. I would like to see maybe bringing it more to a place where we can read your ingredients list. I like how you're dividing up your page into different sections, so maybe there's something about that, like, that can flow nicely. So you have your title breaking up the middle part of your page, and this part right here contains the ingredients right here. And so maybe this guy can move with this area right here, and then maybe katsu curry. I know you're trying to divide up the page this way, and how to prepare can go a little bit bigger to match your title. But you can leave some white space, and you can still have a little bit more room for it to breathe. And maybe a pull quote. You can put a pull quote in here if you think the white space is going to be a little too awkward of a space to leave by itself. But I would say bring your ingredients list with this paragraph right here, and just careful with the size. You want to make sure the size is consistent. But I overall like how you have divided up your page. I think it works pretty nicely. I think how to prepare, I would like to see maybe aligned with this paragraph right here, or with chicken here, just because it just feels a little bit awkward here in the middle. Okay, so that's for your connotative. For your denotative, I feel, again, it's just very safe. I really like what you're doing with your connotative, that I would like to bring some of that in somehow. And it could be that we address some of those areas of white space and think about how this title treatment works out. So Japanese chicken curry katsu. Maybe there's a way to use the same font for each. I'm noticing those three have the same font. This one's a little bit different. And then maybe we start to align certain things to certain words. I'm not sure why we're going centered axis on all of them, but I think this could use some left alignment to some of the words that you have here, and same thing here, just more left aligned. But I think overall, I would like to see a little bit more variation, experimentation, kind of like what you did here with your connotative approach. Okay? But I think overall this looks good. I like this. Then we go to Roger's work, so vanilla cheesecake. I think this one looks a little bit better from the last round. So this is your connotative, this is your denotative. I like how this works in terms of white space. I would say some areas are getting a little too close to the type. So I like how this area flows well in terms of white space. I think here we're starting to get a little too close, and certain areas here, like with the K, getting a little too close. And maybe K can go down right here and align with the E and E. So again, you're allowing a little bit for more white space right here, okay? And then let's see. There's something about the white space here that might need to be addressed, and maybe it's not stacking your ingredients on top of one another. Maybe they take up 2 or 3 sentences. Just something to think about. And I think in general, you have some nice white space going on, the kerning in between the letter forms, that I would like to see that with vanilla. So you might need to make excuse me, vanilla a little bit smaller in order to accommodate those spaces right here. But I think overall this looks good. For your denotative, I'm seeing that this space right here in the middle is just very jarring. I'm wondering if this could be an area for your title treatment, in all honesty, because these do look like pieces of cake to me with the layers. Maybe do something with the ingredients list here or the title itself, but I think just waving this out like this just seems kind of it doesn't seem to have much purpose or a sense of structure for your connotative approach. And I would like to see this have a little bit more unified meaning to your overall layout, because right now this part is separate from this part, which is separate from this part, and this top part is completely just doesn't make sense with the rest of the layout. So try to utilize this middle space right here for something. Okay. Let's go to Alyssa's work next. Alyssa is doing mocha iced coffee. I think this looks much better from the last week that we've seen it at. We're introducing this wave-like pattern, which is nice, and I like that it's only the title. Not everything on the page is doing that, so that's something you can definitely work on. For those of you who are considering doing effects on everything, you don't have to. One thing I would say is just have a little bit more control over certain areas so it doesn't look like the letter forms are drunk. Like just unify and smooth out some of those areas right here. So like this guy right here and this guy right here and some of those little areas like so. Like you want it to be a considerable wave-like motion, not something accidental. So bring a little bit more intentionality to this area right here. I don't mind the rules, but I really think you can do this typographically without the rules. The whole point is we're not using any graphic aids. This is specifically typed, so I'm actually going to rule against those. So no rules. See if you can create a sense of difference between the big type right here, which you already have enough contrast, and then with your paragraph right here and here, I think we can play around with maybe a bolder typeface right here for your ingredients list, and see if there's something we can do to kind of create more balance. And I think overall your layout can go a little smaller, just a tiny bit, because it's getting too close to the edge right here. This one here too. So just make everything a tiny bit smaller. And then we get some nice white space here and some nice white space here. And then we have this nice balance between these two areas. Okay. I believe this is your connotative. I'm not really sure. Or is this your denotative? I'm going to assume this is your denotative and this is your connotative, or this is your your connotative and this is your denotative. Okay. I like how you're doing things very simplified layouts like this. Just careful with how close you're getting to the edge right here. In comparison to the font that you're using right here, I think I like this one more. This one just seems just very jarring, and I'm wondering if there's a way to look at these two recipe cards and make them have that sense of coherency, right? So I'm wondering if there's something like this that can bring itself back into this layout, because remember, those are two recipe cards that should sit side by side next to each other and make sense. Okay. I like that you're creating white space around this, but try to rethink your title. I think what you're doing here with your title and the effect here works a little bit better than what you have here. Okay, I hope this helps. And I believe this is your denotative and this is your connotative, unless I'm mistaken. Please correct me if that's not the case. Okay. Then we have, I believe this is Rebecca's work, triple chocolate cheesecake. So Rebecca, this looks nice. It again looks like a page out of a cookbook for your denotative and your connotative right here. I would advise against putting your type like this because it does become hard to read. I still would like to read your connotative type, but I'm getting enough connotation right here. So I think you did a great job with this. I'm not sure why we're waving the type. I think it looks good as it is with you not doing these wave-like effects to it. Okay, so just in terms of readability, maybe get rid of that effect and we can see more of those ingredients and instructions. Okay. When we start to layer type like this, it does get a little bit hard to read. Okay, so maybe like cheesecake or chocolate cheesecake, you can do the same thing with those areas right here with the pull quote, something like that, so that way it makes a little bit more sense. Because right now those overlapping are a little bit hard to read. And let's just fix these areas right here where we read those more upright. But I think you have enough connotation here for us to understand that this is your connotative layout. Okay, same thing with this paragraph as well. Just treat it as straightforward, simple typography. Okay, let's go to your denotative. I think for your denotative, there's a lot of things taking up the space in each corner that I would simplify this a little bit more. If you're going for the flush left look, try to align certain areas like so. I don't mind doing the centered layout, but I want to make sure that not everything is taken up by that much white space. Try to see if we can bring less kerning space in between your letter forms, so just kind of make it smaller. And see if there's something with triple chocolate cheesecake. Maybe it's the same color and the same size, so that we bring a little bit more unity to your overall layout. And I don't know if you're trying to make a cake-like figure. It kind of looks like you are. See if you can bring something in this area right here So maybe bake, smooth, garnish can be off to this side right here, aligned with your ingredients and aligned with your instructions. Then I think it would make more sense, okay? So I would say overall just make this a little bit smaller. See if you can, although I know the size of this type might go too small, but see if you can do that. But I think when you go smaller with the title treatments, you'll get a little bit more white space. Okay? I believe that is the end of group 3, and we will move on to group 4.